How was your day? Maybe you spent it working towards something, filling out the right form, talking to the right person, and somehow you ended up exactly where you started. There's a story about exactly that. Arriving somewhere, doing everything right, and finding that the door simply doesn't open. It's called The Castle. Franz Kafka wrote it in 1926. Tonight's story is about exactly that feeling, trying and not arriving. Get comfortable. You don't need to follow every word. If you drift off, that's fine. Maybe today had that quality, where you did everything correctly and it still didn't resolve. Kafka knew that feeling. He built an entire world out of it. This novel was never finished. Kafka died before he reached the ending, and somehow, that's exactly right for a story about a man who never arrives. Every week, one book. No pressure to have read it first. If you want to know when the next one arrives, there's a subscribe button somewhere on this page. The novel opens in the middle of the night. K has arrived in a village he was not expecting to be difficult to enter. The bridge is closed. A man stops him before he can cross. The innkeeper tries to send K back across the bridge. K says he's the count's land surveyor, an official appointment. The innkeeper has never heard of any appointment. A phone call goes up to the castle. The first answer is no, there is no land surveyor expected. Then, minutes later, a correction. Yes, the land surveyor is expected. Both answers came from the castle. Morning. Kay steps outside and looks up at the castle for the first time in daylight. Here's where it gets interesting. Because it looks like nothing. Just dark stone. Not a castle at all, really. More like a large village. Kay tries to walk to the castle. He follows the road uphill. The road bends, then bends again. He finds himself back in the village. The path to the castle does not lead to the castle. A young man appears at Kay's side. He says his name is Barnabas. He's a castle messenger. He has a letter for Kay. He has an open, almost too perfect face, and a uniform that may or may not be an official uniform. The letter is from the castle chief Clam. It confirms Kay as land surveyor. It also clarifies that his work answers to the village chairman, not to the castle directly. He has a title. He has no authority. Kay asks Barnabas to take him to the castle directly. Barnabas hesitates. He can carry messages. He cannot bring Kay inside. And this is the part most people miss. Barnabas isn't sure he even enters the castle himself. Barnabas leads Kay to his family's house at the edge of the village. His sister Olga is there, steady, watchful. In the corner, barely moving, sits Amalia. She does not look up when Kay enters. There's more of this story. More of Olga's nights at the castle stables, more of what Amalia refused, more of the endless corridor of officials. But not tonight. Tonight, just this far. If tonight helped, even a little, subscribe. Next week, another book. At the Bridge Inn, Kay sees Frieda behind the bar. She's small and quiet, with eyes that seem older than she is. The innkeeper tells Kay she was Clam's mistress. She looks at Kay like she's been expecting him. Frieda leads Kay to a small hole in the wall, a peephole into the next room. Through it, Kay sees Clam for the first time. Heavy set, pince-nez glasses, asleep at the table. The man who controls everything is having a nap. That night, Kay and Frieda stay together on the floor of the bar, behind the counter, in the stale beer smell. Outside, the assistants keep watch. Something has changed. Neither of them is sure it was a good idea. Morning. The landlady calls Kay into the back room. She speaks carefully. Frieda gave up Clam for Kay. The landlady wants Kay to understand exactly what that means, and that he cannot possibly understand it. Two men appear at Kay's side. They introduce themselves as Arthur and Jeremiah, assistants assigned to him by the castle. They are identical in the most unnerving way. Kay did not ask for them and cannot get rid of them. Kay goes to see the village chairman. The chairman is in bed, unwell. His wife finds the relevant files. After some searching, the chairman explains Kay's appointment was a clerical error. There is no surveying work. The chairman explains the castle's system. Department A sends a letter. Department B doesn't know about it. Department C is responsible for the error. But Department C reports to Department A. Nobody is in charge of the mistake. The chairman offers Kay a position as school janitor. It is not what Kay came for. Kay accepts it because it is something. He now has a title, land surveyor, and a job, sweeping classrooms. The schoolmaster makes clear that Kay is an intrusion. The classroom is needed for class. Kay's bed, a makeshift arrangement in the corner, must be cleared before children arrive. Stay with this, it matters later. Frieda tries to make it livable. She finds extra blankets somewhere. She warms water on the classroom stove. Two people building a version of ordinary life in a room that doesn't belong to them, in a place that doesn't want Kay. Another letter from Barnabas. It's from Clam. But it refers to surveying work Kay has begun, and Kay has begun nothing. The castle is writing letters about a Kay who doesn't exist. Perhaps that Kay is the only one they recognize. Kay decides to write to Clam directly. He writes 3 versions. In the first, he is firm. In the second, he is careful. In the third, he isn't sure what he is. He sends none of them that night. The landlady finds Kay and tells him what Clam actually is. Not an official, not a bureaucrat, but something closer to a local deity. People in the village have built their whole lives around a connection to him. Kay does not believe her. He cannot afford to. Night settles on the schoolroom. Kay cannot sleep. Outside, the castle sits on its hill. It will be there in the morning. It was there before Kay arrived. Nothing he has done today has brought him any closer to it. Olga sits down across from Kay and begins to talk. She has been waiting for someone to ask, not because she wants sympathy, but because the story has weight, and she has been carrying it alone. It started at a festival. The village was celebrating the fire brigade. A castle official named Sortini was there, distant and important, watching from a raised platform barely visible. Then he noticed Amalia. The morning after the festival, a messenger arrived at the family's door. He carried a letter from Sortini. The letter was a summons. The language was crude and direct. Sortini wanted Amalia at the Herrenhof that evening. Amalia read it. Then she tore it up. She dropped the pieces at the messenger's feet and closed the door. She did not explain herself. She has not explained herself since. Nothing happened. That's what makes it strange. No official punishment, no summons, no trial. The castle said nothing. And the village, watching the castle say nothing, drew its own conclusions. The family's friends stopped visiting. Not dramatically, just gradually. Invitations dried up. The cobbler who had worked with their father stopped offering work. No one announced anything. No one had to. Barnabas was a young man with good prospects. After Amalia's refusal, those prospects evaporated. No one hired him. No one trained him. The village assumed the castle's silence was instruction enough. The father couldn't bear it. He began to make trips to the castle, petitioning at the gates, waiting for officials, sending letters through every available channel. The castle never responded. He came back smaller each time. He aged badly. The mother stopped going outside. The house grew quieter. Amalia managed the household with the same calm with which she had dropped the letter. The family did not collapse. It simply diminished. Olga tells Kathan, nobody ever said Amalia did something wrong. There was no accusation, no court. If you asked any neighbor directly, they would say they knew nothing about any trouble. And then they would find a reason to leave the room. Olga decided she would fix it. She couldn't petition the castle directly. None of them could, but castle workers came down to the village sometimes. They stayed at the Herrenhof. Olga began spending time there. The castle workers were not officials. They were servants and clerks and stable hands who worked in and around the castle. They knew things, small things, procedural things. Olga listened. She offered company. She made herself available. She learned that the castle's filing system was enormous and impenetrable. Every petition generated a file. Every file required a counter file. The counter file was handled by a different department from the file. Nothing was lost. It was all filed somewhere. That was the problem. One of the stable workers told Olga something useful. If a petitioner could get a case heard by the right official at the right moment, specifically when that official was between assignments, the official had discretion to act. The window was narrow. It almost never happened. Months passed. Olga kept going back. The information she gathered was fragmentary and often contradictory. She began to understand that there was no clear path, only the permanent possibility that one might appear. She kept going anyway. It was during this time that Barnabas came to Olga with an idea. He would offer himself to the castle as a messenger, unpaid, unofficial, on the chance that if he proved useful, the family might be forgiven for something no one had named. Barnabas began presenting himself at the castle offices. He waited. He was not turned away. He was not invited in. He waited in an anteroom with other people waiting, none of whom appeared to know what they were waiting for. One day, a clerk looked at him. Not spoke to him, looked, then moved on. Barnabas took this as progress. This is what a year of the castle had done to his understanding of progress. Eventually a letter was placed in his hands. He was told to deliver it. No uniform was given, no official title. He was not told who he was delivering for, or what his status was. He said thank you and left with the letter. That was how Barnabas became the castle messenger. Not by appointment, not by selection. By waiting long enough that someone handed him a letter. The white tunic came later. He bought it himself, because it seemed appropriate. Kay listens to all of this and asks the obvious question, does Barnabas actually enter the castle? Olga pauses. She says, she thinks so. Barnabas says so. But when she asks him to describe the inside, his answers are always a little vague. She describes what Barnabas tells her about the castle office he visits. A large room, many desks, officials working. And this is the detail that stays with Kay. It may not be the main office. It may be a waiting area that looks like an office. What Barnabas does know is the official he reports to. A man named Clam. He has seen Clam. Or someone he was told is Clam. The official at the desk looks different each time Barnabas visits. He assumes it's the same person. Kay absorbs this. The messenger who may or may not enter the castle. The official who may or may not be the same person each time. The uniform bought at a dry goods shop. The entire structure he has been relying on is made of approximations. Olga says, don't misunderstand. She doesn't think Barnabas is lying. She thinks he genuinely believes he's a castle messenger. She just can't rule out the possibility that he believes something that is almost, but not quite, true. She pauses. Then, and what would it change? If Barnabas's letters really come from Clam, they mean what they say and no more. If they come from a room that's adjacent to Clam, they mean the same thing. The castle is the castle. Kay asks about Amalia. Has Amalia ever shown regret? Olga is quiet for a moment, then no. And not bitterness either, just absence. As though the thing she refused was already not part of her world before she refused it. What Amalia did was not rebellion. It's important to understand that. She didn't defy the castle on principle. She simply didn't go. The letter was offensive. She tore it up. She went about her day. The consequences arrived on their own. The village, Olga explains, has a particular relationship with the castle. It fears it, in the way you fear something that has always been there. Not personal, not reasoned, just the bedrock assumption that the castle's will is the world's will. So when Amalia refused Sortini, the village didn't need an instruction from the castle to respond. It knew, or thought it knew, what was appropriate. And appropriate meant a distance. No announcement. Just the slow closing of a circle that had previously included the family. Kay says, but the castle never actually punished them. Olga agrees. Kay says, so the village is punishing them for something the castle hasn't confirmed is wrong. Olga agrees with that too. She says it quietly. She has known this for years. Olga tells Kay one more thing. She went back to Sortini's letter. She thought about it for a long time. And she has concluded that the letter was an official act. That Sortini's invitation, crude as it was, carried the weight of the castle's authority, which means, Olga says, that what Amalia did was refuse the castle. Not a person, the castle itself. And she did it without planning to, without politics, without an argument, just by dropping a torn letter at a messenger's feet. Kay is quiet after this. He thinks of his own situation, trying every channel, following every rule, working within the system. Amalia worked within nothing. She simply said no. And here they both are, equally outside the castle's reach. Olga walks Kay to the door. She thanks him for listening. Nobody listens, she says, not unkindly. The village prefers not to think about the family at all. Kay stepping back into the night with this thought, he is their only visitor. The next morning, Kay goes back to the Bridge Inn. The landlady has been waiting. She has something to tell him about Clam. But first she wants Kay to understand something about herself. She was young once. This is what she wants Kay to know. She was Clam's, not mistress, not servant, something harder to name. 3 times he summoned her. 3 times she went. After the 3rd time, he never summoned her again. She kept things from those 3 visits. A handkerchief, a photograph she had taken of his sleigh. A letter, just a note, really, 3 lines. She keeps them in a box. She has not opened the box in years. Kay asks why she keeps them. She looks at him as if he has asked why the sky is gray. She says because they're mine, because he was real, because something that really happened should have something to show for itself. She says, you think Frieda gave up something by leaving Clam for you. You have no idea what she gave up. You think it was a position. It was a world. There are people for whom proximity to the castle is the only life that makes sense. Kay asks what Clam is then, really. Not what position he holds. What he is. The landlady thinks about this. She says, he's different things to different people. That's not unusual for someone in his position. But with Clam, the differences are greater than they should be. She describes what he looked like when she knew him. Tall, quick eyes behind the glasses, a laugh she didn't expect from someone of his position, sudden, loud, then gone. She stops. Kay waits. She doesn't add anything more. Kay leaves the back room with more than he came in with. The landlady Frieda, Olga, each of them has built a life around a relationship with the castle that cannot be completed, cannot be ended, cannot be explained. Each of them has chosen to stay. He steps outside. Snow the castle on its hill, the village going about its mourning. He has been here long enough now that the sight of the castle no longer shocks him. It is just there, as it always is, as it always was. Tonight let that settle. The castle on its hill, the village below it. All these people who have arranged their lives around something that doesn't explain itself. You don't have to follow every word from here. Let the story hold you. Days settle into a pattern. Kay wakes in the schoolroom before the children arrive. He sweeps. He waits. He thinks about the castle. He tries a different approach each morning, and each approach leads him back to where he started. He tries the road again. He follows it further this time, past the point where it curved back before. The road does not curve back. It simply ends, not at the castle gate, at a fence. Beyond the fence, someone's garden. He walks around the base of the hill. He finds a side road he hasn't taken before. It leads to a village street he recognizes. He has circled the castle without reaching it, and the circle took most of the morning. He writes letters, carefully composed, precisely argued, sent through Barnabas. The letters go up, no response comes down, or rather, a response does come, eventually, acknowledging previous correspondence and noting it has been filed. Barnabas comes and goes. Each time Kay asks, "Did you see Clam?" Each time Barnabas says, "I think so." There was an official at the desk. He looked like Clam. He may have been Clam. Kay stops asking. The assistants are everywhere. Arthur and Jeremiah follow Kay through the village, into the schoolroom, to the Barnabas house. They are cheerful in a way that makes everything worse. Kay tries ordering them away. They agree and stay. He tries dismissing them formally. He writes a notice of dismissal and reads it to them. They listen politely. They ask if they should go now or in the morning. He says now. They are there in the morning. Frieda watches the assistants with an expression Kay notices but doesn't address. They make her laugh sometimes. She catches herself and stops. Kay, or decides not to think about it. There are more pressing problems. He visits the village chairman again. He presents new evidence that his appointment is real and not a clerical error. The chairman listens. He calls for his wife to find the relevant counter file. The counter file has been misfiled. The chairman is kind about it. He says these things happen. The castle's filing system is comprehensive precisely because it must account for situations like this one. The error is acknowledged. The record of the error is filed. Everything is in order. He walks the village in the afternoons. He knows the streets now, which paths loop back, which ones end at fences, which ones lead only to more village. The geography has become familiar. Familiar is not the same as useful. He meets people who are curious about him. A farmer offers him hot cider in a doorway. A woman with 3 children asks if he's the one trying to reach the castle. He says yes. She nods as if this explains something she had already assumed. She tells him people come to the village, sometimes with the same idea. They want to reach the castle. Most of them leave after a while. Some of them stay. The ones who stay, they stop trying to reach the castle eventually. They just live here. Kay thanks her and walks on. He doesn't say what he thinks, that he has no intention of becoming one of those people. That stopping would mean accepting something he cannot accept. That he is different from the ones who stayed. Back at the schoolroom, Frieda has made soup on the classroom stove. It is good soup. K eats it and feels something uncomplicated for a few minutes. Warm fed, not failing at anything. Then the schoolmaster arrives and wants his stove back. Frieda begins to mention the assistants more often, casually, incidentally. She says Jeremiah helped her carry water from the well. She says Arthur found extra wood for the stove. Kay listens. He says that's useful. He means it and doesn't mean it. Kay tells himself Frieda is practical. She appreciates help. The assistants are harmless, even if they are useless to him. This is what he tells himself. He believes about half of it. One evening, a boy appears in the schoolroom doorway. He's perhaps 8 or 9, slight, pale, with wide eyes that take in everything. He says his name is Hans Brunswick. He says he wants to help Kay. Kay asks why. Hans thinks about this seriously. He says his mother is ill, and she once said something kind about Kay also. Kay doesn't seem like he belongs here, which Hans finds interesting. Kay invites him in. Hans's mother is the wife of a Brunswick, one of the village's more established families. She was ill before Kay arrived, but Hans says she would like to see Kay. She has heard about him, and she finds his situation interesting. This is the most direct invitation Kay has received. Kay visits Frau Brunswick. She is young, younger than he expected for the mother of a 9-year-old. She is also clearly unwell. She receives Kay from a chair near the window, wrapped in blankets, with the alert eyes of someone whose mind is working while their body isn't. She asks him straightforwardly, what does he actually want from the castle? Not the official answer, the real one. Kay is quiet for a moment. Then he says to be recognized, to have his appointment confirmed in a way that means something. She nods. She says she understands that. She says she once wanted the same thing. From her husband's family, from the village. She got it, eventually, through patience. She doesn't offer this as advice, just as information. Hans asks Kay, could his mother help? He has thought about this. He thinks that if his father spoke to the right person at the Herrenhof, something could be arranged. He says it with the confidence of a child who believes problems are solvable. Kay thanks them both. He leaves the Brunswick house feeling something he doesn't often feel here, briefly, slightly less alone. It doesn't change anything practical. But for the length of the walk back to the schoolroom, it helps. That evening, Frieda isn't at the schoolroom when Kay returns. She comes back late. She says she was at the Herrenhof. One of the castle workers needed something. Kay doesn't ask which one. He understands which one. They talk around it. Both of them are careful. Neither one says the name Jeremiah. Neither one mentions what the other knows. The conversation finds its way to other topics and stays there until both of them run out of words. The schoolmaster formally complains about Kay to the village chairman. Kay has disrupted the school routine. The woodpile Kay was meant to manage has not been properly managed. The classroom smells of soup. Kay is summoned. Kay appears before the chairman again. The chairman is sorry about this. He had hoped the arrangement would work. Kay assures him it is working. The chairman expresses relief. The complaint remains on file. Barnabas comes again. This time no letter. He says he went to the castle, but the official at the desk, Clam, or the man he believes is Clam, was busy. Barnabas waited. The official did not look up. Barnabas came back. Kay decides to try something different. He will wait for Clam outside the Herrenhof, not inside, not in the corridor, but in the courtyard where Clam's sleigh is kept. If Clam comes out, Kay will be there. He will speak to him directly. He waits in the courtyard. It is cold. It gets colder. The sleigh sits in the lantern light. The Herrenhof above has lit windows. Sounds of the official's dinner from somewhere inside. Kay stays by the sleigh and waits. Hours pass. The door to the inn does not open. No one comes to tell Kay to leave. No one comes to tell him Clam is coming. He is simply in the courtyard, not permitted, not forbidden, not acknowledged. A coachman comes out eventually, not Clam. The coachman is surprised to find Kay there. He offers Kay some brandy from a flask. Kay accepts. The brandy is warm and good. The coachman goes back inside. Kay stays. Someone from inside the inn sends a message: Clam will not come out as long as Kay is in the courtyard. Kay considers this. It means Clam knows Kay is there. It means Clam is choosing not to come out. Kay finds this almost encouraging. But eventually the cold wins. Kay goes back to the schoolroom. Clam does not emerge. The sleigh remains in the courtyard. In the morning, it is gone. Clam left at some point in the night, through another exit, or by some other arrangement. Frieda is not at the schoolroom when Kay returns. She is there in the morning, but she has been somewhere else. She doesn't say where. Kay doesn't ask. This is a new habit they have developed together, the deliberate omission. He visits the Barnabas house again. Olga is there, as always. Amalia is there. Barnabas is out, at the castle, or on the approach road, or somewhere in between. Olga says it's hard to know exactly. She says it with the ease of someone who has stopped needing to know exactly. Kay talks with Amalia directly, for the first time. He sits across from her. She doesn't rearrange herself for the conversation. She looks at him the way she looks at everything, without adjustment. He asks her, does she regret it? The letter. Tearing it up. What came after? She is quiet. Then no, he asks, did she know what would happen? She says not exactly. She asks, would it have changed anything? Kay doesn't answer. He already knows the answer. Back at the schoolroom, Frieda is gone. Not temporarily. She has taken her things. A note says she's returned to the Herrenhof. She is sorry. She hopes Kay understands. She says she needs more than what the schoolroom can offer. He goes to the Herrenhof. He asks to see Frieda. The innkeeper says Frieda is working. She cannot be disturbed. Kay waits. She does not come out. This is what the Herrenhof does. It receives people and does not return them. He sees Jeremiah in the Herrenhof common room. Jeremiah is no longer identical to Arthur. Or rather, he has stopped pretending to be. He looks different when he's not beside Arthur. More himself. More comfortable. Jeremiah sees Kay looking and nods. He is not unkind about it, he says. Simply, without defensiveness. That Frieda needed someone who was actually there. Kay was always somewhere between the castle and the schoolroom. Jeremiah was just there. Kay walks back to the schoolroom alone. The assistants were sent to help him. He never found a way to use them. One of them found a way to be useful to Frieda. This is the kind of result the castle produces, things meant for Kay, that become useful to everyone else. He sits in the schoolroom. It is very quiet without Frieda. The makeshift bed is just a makeshift bed now. The soup pot is gone. She took it with her. The stove that was hers to manage is just iron and cold ash. He thinks about what to do next. He has a title that means nothing, a job that means less, no accommodation, no ally, no access to the castle. He has also time, and the fact that he is still here, and a refusal to leave that has not yet been explained even to himself. Barnabas comes in the morning with a letter. It is from Clam. It is brief. It says Kay's work has been satisfactory. It asks him to keep up the good work. Kay has done no work. The good work referenced is fictional. But it is undeniably a letter from Clam. Kay folds the letter and puts it in his coat. Barnabas asks if there is a reply. K thinks about this. He says, "Tell them the work is progressing." Barnabas nods and goes. K looks at the empty schoolroom. The work continues. Night. K in the schoolroom. Outside the village, the snow, the hill, the castle. He is further from the castle than when he arrived, in every sense that isn't distance. And yet the letter is in his pocket. He is still here. Something continues even if he can't name it. K decides to try the Herrenhof directly. Not the bar, not the courtyard, the inside. The corridor where the officials stay. He knows he isn't allowed. He goes anyway. This is what running out of other options looks like. He gets inside. The common room is almost empty. Late at night, the bar staff cleaning. He moves past the bar and finds the corridor he has heard about. It is exactly as described: low ceiling, many identical doors, candles in iron sconces. He doesn't know which door to knock on. He stands in the corridor. The sound of papers from somewhere. A cough behind one of the doors. The administrative life of the castle continuing. A few inches of wood away from him. A door opens. A castle official emerges. Not an important one, just a functionary in a dark coat with papers under his arm. He looks at K without surprise. He says, "You shouldn't be here." Then he goes back inside. K stays. He walks the corridor slowly. He tries to read the names on the doors. Some have names, some have numbers. Some have nothing. He tries to find Clam's name. He doesn't find it. He realizes he is very tired. He has been awake since before dawn. The corridor is warm compared to the schoolroom. He finds an empty stretch of wall and leans against it. He tells himself he will wait here for someone useful. A door opens beside him. An official looks out, round face, warm complexion, glasses pushed up on his forehead. He seems surprised but not unfriendly. He says, "Are you waiting for someone?" K says yes. The official says, "Well, come in then." Virgil's room is small. A desk, a bed, a window. He has clearly been working in bed, papers spread across the blanket. He gestures K to the chair by the desk. He himself returns to the bed, settles back, and begins to talk. Virgil explains his role. He is a liaison official. He handles communications between certain departments. His decisions are small but real. He enjoys his work. He speaks about it with a warmth K hasn't encountered in any official before. K's eyes grow heavy. He tries to keep them open. Virgil is still talking. The room is warm, the candle is steady. The bed in the corner looks very comfortable compared to the schoolroom floor. K shifts in the chair and tries to focus. Virgil begins to explain something specific. His voice takes on a different quality, more precise, more careful. He is describing a procedural situation. K tries harder to listen. He catches fragments. There is a situation, Virgil explains, in which a petitioner can get everything they want. It is rare. It requires the petitioner to appear before the right official at exactly the right moment. A moment of transition between cases, between decisions. In that moment, Virgil says the official has full discretion, full authority. No departmental interference is possible. If the petitioner makes their case, simply, directly, with the right request, it must be granted. It cannot be appealed. It simply happens. K's eyes close. They open, they close again. He is holding on to Virgil's voice by the thinnest thread. Something about a petitioner. Something about discretion. Something about a moment that his head drops. He sleeps. Virgil continues talking. This is the novel's central moment, the loophole in the system, described in full, to the one man it could save. While that man sleeps through every word of it, hear that, the silence where the answer would have been. Kafka does this precisely. the system contains its own exception. The exception is described out loud, in the right room, to the right person. And the right person is asleep. Virgil finishes. He looks at Kay sleeping. He shrugs, not unkindly, and goes back to his papers. He has told Kay everything. What Kay does with it is Kay's business. Virgil has other cases to attend to. Kay wakes. He doesn't know how long he's slept. Virgil is working. The candle has burned lower. Kay straightens in the chair and tries to remember what he heard before he fell asleep. He has fragments. He asks Virgil to repeat himself. Virgil says he explained the procedural situation. He described the conditions under which full discretion applies. Kay nods. Can he explain again? Just the key part. Virgil considers. He says the moment he described has likely already passed. The moment Virgil explains was the interview itself. Kay was the petitioner. Virgil was the official. The right conditions were in place. Kay was in the room. The moment existed, and then Kay fell asleep, and the moment ended, and now it is past. Kay asks, could it happen again? Could there be another such moment, another such interview? Virgil says in theory, yes. These moments arise, but they can't be arranged. They can't be waited for. They simply occur, and then they're over. Kay thanks him. He stands. He picks up his coat. Virgil nods and returns to his papers. Kay opens the door and steps back into the corridor. The identical doors stretch away in both directions. The candles are burning low. He stands in the corridor a moment. He thinks about what Burrell told him. The system has a gap in it. He found the gap. He sat in the room where the gap was. He slept. This is the story of the castle. A door at the far end of the corridor opens. A different official, thin, precise, silver-haired, wire-rimmed glasses. He looks down the corridor at Kay and says, "Are you Kay?" Kay says yes. The official says, "Come." Erlanger's room is different from Virgil's. Precise, ordered, nothing out of place. He does not invite Kay to sit. He stands and addresses Kay. Quickly, efficiently, as if reading from a prepared statement. Erlanger says Frieda is needed behind the bar at the Bridge Inn. Frieda should return to her position. This is not a request. It is an administrative requirement. Kay is expected to facilitate this. Kay asks why. Erlanger looks at him with mild surprise, as if why is not usually part of these conversations. He says, Clam prefers Frieda there. The bar functions better. These are the reasons. They are sufficient. Kay understands what's happening. Frieda left Clam's orbit for Kay. Now the castle wants her back. And Kay, the man she left Clam for, is being enlisted to return her. He is being used as the mechanism of his own replacement. He says he'll think about it. Erlanger says there is nothing to think about. It is a requirement, not a proposal. Kay says he understands. He leaves. Erlanger's door closes precisely behind him. Kay walks the corridor once more. Virgil's door, Erlanger's door, all the other doors. The night has taken everything from him and handed him one administrative instruction. He goes toward the common room to leave. In the common room, something unexpected. The bar staff are distributing files from a large chest, handing folders to castle officials who line up in dressing gowns to receive their morning paperwork. Kay watches. It is absurd. It is ordinary. One of the officials notices Kay watching and calls out. Kay has taken his file. Or rather, Kay is in the position where the file should go, and the official cannot reach past him. It is a small, ridiculous moment. Kay steps aside. He leaves the Herrenhof, outside the village at dawn. Snow, the castle on its hill. He has spent the entire night inside the official's world, and come out with nothing except one administrative instruction and the knowledge of a moment he slept through. He goes to the schoolroom, he sweeps. Children arrive. The schoolmaster presides. Kay exists at the margins of the classroom, performing the role of janitor, thinking about Bewergel's room and the chair and the candle and what he didn't hear. He visits Frieda. He goes to the Herrenhof, asks for her, and this time she comes out. She is different in the inn, more herself, or a version of herself she couldn't be in the schoolroom. She looks rested. They speak carefully. Kay doesn't mention Erlanger's instruction. He asks how she is. She says better. She asks how he is. He says, still here. They both understand that still here is both the whole truth and an answer to a different question. He tells her, eventually, that Erlanger asked him to speak with her, that the castle wants her behind the bar. Frieda is quiet. Then she says, she knows. She was going to return anyway. She didn't need Kay to tell her. He asks if she'll come back. She says where. He means to the schoolroom to him. She understands this. She says the schoolroom isn't a home. Kay, he knows this. He meant something else by the question. Both of them know it. He leaves the Herrenhof again. The second time today. Each time he leaves it, the village is the same. The road, the snow, the hill, the castle. He walks back toward the schoolroom. He doesn't know what else to do. At the schoolroom, a letter from Barnabas. Not from Clam this time. From the castle's secretariat. It acknowledges Kay's most recent letter and informs him that the relevant department is reviewing his case. He should not expect a prompt response. He stokes the stove. He sweeps again, even though he swept in the morning. He boils water on the stove. He makes tea from something he found in the schoolmaster's cupboard. He will apologize for this later, or he won't, depending on whether the schoolmaster notices. He thinks about Bewergel. He goes over the fragments of what he heard before he slept. Petitioner. Official. Transition moment. Full discretion. He tries to reconstruct the mechanism from the pieces. The pieces don't quite fit together without the parts he missed. He thinks, could he go back? Ask Bewergel to explain it again. He considers this seriously. But Bewergel said the moment requires conditions. The conditions won't be the same. The petitioner can't arrange the conditions. They just happen. They already happened. Night again. The schoolroom quiet. The stove burning lower. Kay at the desk, the letters spread before him, Clam's letters. The secretariat's acknowledgement, the chairman's earlier note. A correspondence with an institution that knows him as a file number. He puts the letters away. He looks at the window. Outside the night, the village, the hill. He has been here for weeks. He has made no progress toward the castle. He has made a great deal of progress in understanding what progress isn't. He goes to Olga. He doesn't have a reason, just the need to be somewhere that will receive him without conditions. The family house. The lantern, Olga at the table. Even Amalia, still in her corner, is a kind of company. He tells Olga about Bewergel. About the room, the explanation, the sleep. She listens without interrupting. When he finishes, she is quiet. Then, that sounds like Bewergel. He's supposed to be one of the more human ones. She says, don't be too hard on yourself. You were exhausted. Anyone would have slept. Kay says, not at that moment. Not if they'd known. She says, but you didn't know. That's the whole thing. You can't know when the moment is happening. Barnabas comes in from the cold. He has a letter. Not from Clam, from a different department. It refers to Kay's land surveying appointment and asks for a status update on current surveying work. Kay stares at it. He has no current surveying work. He writes back work is proceeding. Barnabas goes. Kay sits with Olga and Amalia in the lantern light, the three of them in the quiet. Outside, the village, the snow, the hill. There is something almost comfortable about this. The acceptance of being where you are, without pretending it's anywhere else. He walks back to the schoolroom late. The village is asleep, the castle on its hill, the road empty and white. He thinks, tomorrow he will try something new. He doesn't know what yet. He'll think of something. He always does. It never works. He tries anyway. The schoolroom. The stove still warm from earlier. Kay sits on the edge of the makeshift bed, Frieda's side empty, the blankets undisturbed. He takes off his boots. He lies down. For a moment, the ceiling is just a ceiling. He thinks the castle is still there. The hill is the same hill. The road is the same road. Tomorrow it will all be the same. And he will still be here. He doesn't know if this is stubbornness or something else. He falls asleep before he decides. The novel keeps going. There are more letters, more visits, more corridors, more Barnabas arriving at dawn with communications from departments Kay has never heard of. More attempts, more closed doors, more almost moments. Kay persists, the castle holds. Let that settle tonight. You don't need to follow every word from here. The story will hold you. The castle will still be there in the morning. In the novel, and perhaps in whatever form it takes in your own life. Sleep if you want to. The landlady sends for Kay. She has something to say that she didn't say before. Kay goes to the Bridge Inn. She is in her back room, seated, the box of keepsakes on the shelf behind her. She looks like she has been preparing. She says she wants to explain something about the castle that Kay still doesn't understand. He has been here long enough. He has made enough mistakes. She is not saying this unkindly. She is saying it the way a doctor states a diagnosis. She says the castle officials are not like other authorities. You cannot argue with them. You cannot prove they are wrong, not because they are beyond argument, but because argument isn't the language they operate in. They operate in fact. And the fact is simply what the castle decides. Kay says, but the castle made a mistake. His appointment was real. The clerical error was on their side. Surely they can acknowledge that and correct it. The landlady listens to this and then says, very gently, that's not how it works. She says the castle doesn't correct itself, not because it can't, but because correction would mean acknowledging a previous state that was incorrect. And the castle, in its own understanding, is never in an incorrect state. It simply moves to the next state. Kay asks, then what should he have done? She says, been less certain. Come with less insistence and more patience. Let the village show him how things work before trying to change them. He says, that would take years. She says yes. He asks, is it too late? She considers this. She says she doesn't know. The castle is not predictable in that way. It is possible that something could still shift. It is also possible that the shape of things has already been decided. She can't tell him which. They sit for a while without talking, the lamp between them, the box on the shelf. Outside, the inn's midday sounds, someone at the bar, footsteps in the common room. The world going about its business while these two sit with an unanswerable question. She says, finally, she doesn't think Kay is a bad person. She thinks he came here with the wrong assumptions. Most people who arrive with wrong assumptions leave. Kay has stayed. That's worth something. She doesn't say what. Kay leaves the Bridge Inn. He stands in the road, the village around him, the castle above. He has heard the same essential message from every person in this village. The castle is what it is, and you must accommodate it or leave. He has never been able to do either. He goes back to the Barnabas house. He wants to speak with Amalia again. Not to change anything, just to understand. Amalia is alone when he arrives. Olga is somewhere in the village. Amalia opens the door and steps aside. This is her invitation. He says, can he ask her something? She sits across from him. She says nothing, which he has learned means yes. He asks, when she tore up the letter, did she think about what would happen to her family? She says yes. She knew what it would likely cost. Not the exact shape. She didn't predict each thing that happened, but she knew there would be a cost. She tore it up anyway. Kay asks why. She says because she didn't want to go. Kay sits with this. The whole machinery of the castle, the village's response, the family's years of diminishment, all of it because one person didn't want to do something and didn't do it. Not bravery, not politics, just a preference acted upon. He asks, does she regret the cost to her family? She is quiet for a moment. Then her parents. Yes, she wishes her parents had been spared it. Barnabas and Olga know. They chose how to respond. Those were their choices. Kay asks, does she think the castle will ever let the family recover? She says, she doesn't think about the castle. She thinks about what's in front of her. The household, the day, the people in it. The castle is on its hill. She is here. Kay thinks she is the only person in this village who has actually won. Not by reaching the castle. By deciding the castle was not the measure of her life. He doesn't say this to her. She probably already knows it, and has never needed to say it either. Olga returns. She finds Kay and Amalia at the table in a silence that isn't uncomfortable. She sets down her basket. She makes tea. The three of them sit with it. This is, Kay thinks, one of the few moments in the village that has simply been what it is. He walks back to the schoolroom late. More letters from Barnabas in the morning. More departments, more acknowledgements. More praise for fictional work. More visits to officials who receive him politely and resolve nothing. The weeks have the shape of weeks now. And then, the novel stops. Not ends, stops. Kafka put down his pen somewhere in what would have been the middle of the story, and never picked it up again. What Kay does next is in a manuscript that goes silent in the middle of a sentence. The last thing Kafka wrote in the novel, a conversation. Kay is speaking to someone. He is making a point. The sentence breaks mid-argument, and that is the castle. A man making a case, in the middle of making it, forever. Max Brod, Kafka's closest friend, knew the novel was unfinished. He also knew Kafka had asked him to burn it. Brod looked at the manuscript. He decided not to. He published The Castle in 1926, 2 years after Kafka died. There is a note from Brod about how Kafka imagined the ending. Kay would grow old in the village, never reaching the castle. Then, at the moment of his death, the castle would send word his presence in the village was not legally authorized. But given the circumstances, he could stay. The castle would give Kay permission to stay, on his deathbed. Not recognition, not the appointment confirmed. Just, you may remain where you already are. The permission granted for what can no longer be refused. This is the ending Kafka imagined and didn't write. This is why the unfinished state of the novel is not a loss. It is the story. Kay mid-sentence. The castle unmoved. The ending that would have been the most Kafkaesque thing in the book is the ending Kafka never wrote. Because he had already written it, in everything that came before. What stays with you from the castle isn't the plot. Plot is the least of it. What stays is the feeling of trying correctly and getting nowhere, of a system that acknowledges you without seeing you, of being almost there and not arriving. And what stays alongside that? Olga. Steady, honest, carrying the weight of her family's story without complaint. Amalia. Simply saying no and living in the consequence with more dignity than anyone who said yes. The novel's women are its most complete people, and Frieda. She left the warmth of one impossible relationship for another, and then returned to where she started. This isn't weakness. It's the particular courage of someone who knows what she needs, even if what she needs is complicated. And K himself? He is not a hero. He is not admirable exactly. He is stubborn, sometimes blind, sometimes too certain of his own correctness. But he keeps trying. In a novel about systems that punish effort, keeping trying is its own kind of answer. Kafka wrote this novel in 1922 while he was already ill. He had tuberculosis, the disease that would kill him 2 years later. He wrote quickly in notebooks, late at night. He called it the most Kafka-ish thing he had written. He may have been right. He wrote it in first person first. I arrived in the village. Then, he changed it to third. K. This small change is everything. K. Is Kafka and is not Kafka. He is everyone who has ever tried to get somewhere and been held in the approach forever. Something shifts in the novel around this. When you read K as first person, as yourself, the frustration is unbearable. When you read K as third person, as someone you're watching, the frustration becomes something else: recognition, distance that makes things visible. This is what Kafka found. He could not solve his own problem. The bureaucracy of his insurance job, his father's expectations, his illness, his inability to marry or fully live. But he could make a third person of himself and look at the shape of it. The shape was the castle. Let that settle. If you drift off now, that's fine. The castle will be here when you wake up. So will K, mid-sentence, making his case. Some arguments go on without resolution. That's not failure. That's fidelity to the truth of the thing. The novel, unfinished, has been read for 100 years. It has been translated into dozens of languages. Every translation has to decide what to do with the mid-sentence stop. Some add a period, some leave the dash, some simply end the page. None of them finish it. What the unfinished ending gives you is space. Space to imagine K getting up the next morning. Space to imagine the castle, one day, sending a different kind of letter. Space to hold the story open rather than closed. The novel is generous in its incompletion, and that maybe is the novel's final gift. Not resolution, not victory. Just the door left ajar, K mid-sentence, the argument still going, the castle still there, and you still listening, which is the most any of us can do with the things that don't resolve. There's a particular kind of company this novel offers. Not comfort exactly. Not the comfort of things working out, but the company of a story that takes seriously the experience of trying and not arriving, and refuses to call that failure. You don't have to have solved anything today to deserve rest. K didn't solve anything. He kept trying. That's the whole of it. And it was enough to be written down and translated and read for 100 years. Keep that with you. The snow outside is quiet. The stove is burning. K is somewhere in the village, still making his case. The castle is on its hill, still not answering. The story holds them both. You don't need to resolve it tonight. Sleep if you can. Tomorrow we'll talk about the man who wrote this. Franz Kafka, Prague, 1883. Insurance clerk, insomniac, letter writer, the person behind K. Not the same, but the same shape, the same hill, a different village. Tonight, just the village, just K, just the castle on its hill, the world that Kafka made from the world that wore him down. Real enough to feel, specific enough to dream in. Yours now for however long sleep takes. The night deepens. The village holds its breath. Somewhere in a warm room, Virgil is reading. Somewhere in her corner, Amalia is sitting in the dark, which for her is the same as sitting in the light. Kay is asleep for now. And Frieda, behind the bar, closing time, wiping down the counter. This is what she chose, and it's exactly right, and it's also a story without an ending. Like everyone in this village, like Kay, like the novel itself, the castle on its hill. One window lit, then none. Or one always lit. It's hard to tell from below. It doesn't matter. The castle is there. It will be there in the morning. What you make of that is your business, not the castle's. Sleep. The castle will still be there. Kay will still be trying. You don't need to solve anything tonight. You just need to be here, which you already are, which is already enough. In the morning, Barnabas will come. Another letter, another department, another communication from the castle that acknowledges Kay and resolves nothing. Kay will read it. He will write back. The work continues. So does the rest. Notice how the story holds you without demanding anything. You don't have to agree with Kay. You don't have to understand the castle. You just have to be willing to be in the village with him for a while. That's the whole of what Kafka asks. Rest in the village tonight. The snow is soft. The castle is patient. It will be there tomorrow to be resisted, or accommodated, or ignored, as you choose. Tonight there is no choosing. Tonight there is only this. The story doesn't end. It suspends. There's a difference. An ending closes. A suspension holds. This novel holds everything inside it. Kay's effort, the castle's silence, the village's ordinary life, and keeps holding. So can you. Sleep. The castle is still there. It is always still there. You have been carrying your own version of it today. Probably. Something that doesn't open when you knock. Something that acknowledges you without seeing you. This story knows that. It was written for it. You are allowed to stop for tonight. Kay doesn't. But Kay is in a novel, and novels don't sleep. You do. Put the hill down for tonight. Let the letters wait. The castle will hold your case until morning. You don't have to. The snow falls somewhere. Or it doesn't. The night is clear. Either way, the castle is on its hill. Either way, the village sleeps. Either way, you are here, in whatever room you're in, and that's enough for tonight. The novel has given you what it has. The village, Kay's stubbornness, Amalia's stillness, Olga's patience, Virgil's warmth, the one window in the castle that might be lit or might not. That's the whole of it. That's enough. Sleep. The castle holds. The village holds. You are held. Tomorrow the letters will come. Tonight they can wait. The work is done for now. Kay agrees he is asleep. You can be too. Franz Kafka was born in Prague in 1883. The city was part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire then, a bureaucracy so large it had its own gravitational field. He grew up inside it, and it never quite left him. His father, Hermann, had come from nothing, a market stall in the country, and built a successful dry goods business in Prague. He was loud, confident, physical. Franz was quiet, thin, uncertain. The two of them spent a lifetime failing to understand each other. Kafka wrote a letter to his father in 1919. It was 45 pages long. He never sent it. The letter was an attempt to explain the distance between them, what his father's certainty had cost him, how the world looked from the other side of that certainty. He studied law, not because he wanted to, but because it was the practical thing, and in his family, practical things were done. He was good at it. He passed his exams. He took a job at the Workers' Accident Insurance Institute in Prague. He was, by all accounts, good at his job. His reports were clear. His decisions were fair. He was promoted. He also hated it, not violently, not openly, just with the steady, quiet hatred of someone who knows they are spending their one life on the wrong thing. He wrote at night. After dinner, when the family was asleep, he sat at his desk and wrote. He worked by candlelight or by lamp, in notebooks, in the hours between midnight and 3 in the morning. The writing was the real life. Everything else was what surrounded it. He was not a recluse. He had friends, Max Brod most of all, who believed in him completely and loudly, in contrast to Kafka, who believed in himself quietly and with significant reservations. He went out. He laughed. He was, people said, genuinely funny in person. He fell in love several times. He got engaged. Twice to the same woman, Felice Bauer, and broke it off both times. He wrote her letters for 5 years. Hundreds of them, extraordinarily long, and saw her relatively rarely. The letters were the relationship. He was afraid of marriage, of fatherhood, of taking up space in the world. These fears appear in his writing as systems. The trial with no named crime. The transformation no one acknowledges. The castle that cannot be reached. His anxieties given form. In 1917, he coughed up blood. The diagnosis was tuberculosis. He was 34. He told almost no one. He continued working. He continued writing. He continued, with the particular endurance of someone who has decided that continuing is the only response to things that cannot be changed. He took leave from the insurance office. He stayed at sanatoriums. In the mountains, in the countryside. The clean air was supposed to help. Sometimes it did. He used the time to write. He began the castle in January 1922 at a sanatorium in the mountains. He wrote fast. He wrote more in those months than he had in years. The sanatorium gave him time. The office was gone. The city was gone. The family obligations were gone. Just the desk and the window, and the novel unfolding in his notebooks. He stopped in September 1922. Not finished, stopped. He put the manuscript away. He didn't pick it up again. He may have known by then that he wouldn't. He lived another 2 years. He died in June 1924 in a sanatorium near Vienna. He died of tuberculosis of the larynx, which had spread to his throat. In the final weeks, he couldn't eat. He couldn't speak above a whisper. The man who had made a career of precise language lost, at the end, even that. He left instructions: burn everything. His diaries, his letters, his manuscripts, everything unpublished. Max Brod had promised to do this. Max Brod did not do this. He published everything, and the world has been reading it ever since. The trial came out in 1925, The Castle in 1926, America in 1927, 3 novels from a man who considered them failures and wanted them gone. 3 novels that changed what fiction could do. Brod was wrong to promise. He may have been right to break the promise. Prague in Kafka's time was layered with complexity. He was Czech by birth, German by language, Jewish by heritage, Austro-Hungarian by citizenship. He belonged entirely to each of these and fully to none. Every system of identity he was placed inside was also slightly wrong. This is where K comes from. Not just one man's anxiety, but a century's worth of people standing at borders, inside bureaucracies, carrying identities that the system wants to simplify and can't quite hold. Kafka wrote from inside that experience. The castle is its most precise form. The Austro-Hungarian bureaucracy that surrounded Kafka was, by historical standards, genuinely labyrinthine. Multiple languages, multiple legal systems, multiple overlapping authorities, each with its own procedures. Getting anything officially done required navigating all of them simultaneously. He saw this every day at the insurance office. Workers who had been injured filing claims that required forms that referred to other forms. Employers disputing liability through channels that took years. The gap between the human problem and the administrative solution was Kafka's daily landscape. What Kafka understood, and what the insurance office taught him, is that systems are not designed to be cruel, they are designed to be efficient. The cruelty is a byproduct. The castle doesn't hate K. It simply doesn't have a category for him. This is what Kafka gave the world, a word, Kafkaesque, and what the word means. The experience of being trapped inside a system that is neither malevolent nor helpful, that acknowledges your presence without responding to your need, that files your case and loses your case and processes your case and never resolves your case. He didn't know the word would exist. He didn't think his work would survive him. He asked Broad to burn it, and meant it. The man who invented the vocabulary for one of the modern world's defining experiences thought his work was a failure. This is also very Kafkaesque. The Castle was written between the trial and his death. It's the most personal of the three major novels, not autobiographical, but experiential, the most fully inhabited. You can feel him in every paragraph. The man who worked in an insurance office and came home and made this. He was also, by his own account, sometimes happy. His diaries record moments of pure satisfaction. When a sentence came right, when a story opened into something he hadn't expected. The despair is real and documented. So is the joy of the work. His last relationship was with Dora Diamant, a young Jewish woman he met in 1923, the year before he died. They moved to Berlin together. For the first time in his life, he ran his own household. For the first and only time, he lived as he'd been afraid to live. He burned papers with Dora in those final months. Stories, diary entries, things he hadn't destroyed before. She helped him. She was the one person who obeyed his instructions. Almost everything he burned with Dora is gone. Max Brod didn't know about most of it. He died in June 1924 in a sanatorium in Kirling near Vienna. He was 40 years old. Dora was with him. He had asked her not to leave. She didn't. He died on the 3rd of June, early in the morning. The books came after. The Trial in 1925. The Castle in 1926. Readers found them and found themselves in them. The word Kafkaesque entered the language. By mid-century, Kafka was considered one of the most important writers of the 20th century. He had been dead for 20 years. What made him essential? Partly the precision. No writer before him described the experience of institutional obstruction with such accuracy. Partly the strangeness. His worlds are off by just enough to make the normal visible. Partly the humor, which is real and almost never mentioned. The humor, it matters. The Castle is, among other things, very funny in a quiet way. The assistants who agree to leave and then stay. The chairman who needs his files found by his wife while delivering bureaucratic wisdom from bed. K. Writing, work is proceeding, for work that doesn't exist. Kafka used to read his stories to his friends, and they would laugh. He laughed too. This was part of the experience he intended. Not darkness alone, but the specific comedy of a system taken entirely seriously by everyone inside it. The joke is that the system believes in itself. The world that Kafka described in 1922, of bureaucratic systems that process without helping, of identity documents that define and deny, of organizations that exist more fully than the people they serve, became, in the century after his death, the world most people live in. He could not have known this. He was an insurance clerk in Prague who wrote at night. He thought his work was failures. He asked his best friend to burn them. His best friend didn't. And now, 100 years later, his vocabulary is part of how the world describes itself to itself. Tonight, the castle is his best gift, the most unfinished thing he left, which is also his most complete argument, that some approaches don't arrive, that the approach itself is the thing. That being still here, mid-sentence, is not nothing. He never saw Paris. He was in Paris briefly, once on a business trip, but he was ill and spent most of it in his hotel. He wanted to go back, he never did. His life, like his novel, ended before it arrived where it was going. He wrote in a letter, "There is infinite hope, but not for us." This line has been quoted so often it has almost lost its shape. But read it slowly, infinite hope exists. The system contains it. The system simply doesn't route it toward the people who need it. What this means for Kay, and for us, is that the problem isn't the absence of hope. The problem is the distribution. Something that could help exists. It simply doesn't find its way to the person who needs it. Gel's room. The perfect moment. Kay asleep. The night is late now. The context has been given. Kafka's life, his city, his office, his letters, his friend who didn't obey. Let it settle. You don't need to remember all of it. The feeling is enough. The village is quiet. Prague is quiet. The castle has its lights and its files and its officials in their rooms. Kafka is in the new Jewish cemetery in Prague. His name on a headstone that receives visitors who have read his books and come to say thank you. The castle village is quiet. Kay is in the schoolroom. The stove is warm enough. The makeshift bed is not comfortable, but Kay has stopped noticing. He has learned to sleep in the available space. Some things become normal. Not good, normal. Olga has banked the fire in the family house. Amalia has gone to bed. She sleeps in the dark with the same stillness she sits in the dark, neither welcoming nor resisting it. The family holds itself together the way it has for years, by continuing. The landlady has locked the bridge in. The bar is clean. Frieda has gone upstairs. She sleeps well here. Better than she slept in the schoolroom. The inn is hers in a way the schoolroom never was. She knows where she belongs. Virgil has finished his papers. He sets them in order on the desk. He is very orderly and settles back into his pillows. He falls asleep quickly. The round-faced official who told Kay everything and watched him sleep through it has no trouble sleeping himself. Erlanger has filed his report. The requirement regarding Frieda has been noted in the appropriate record. His room is cold and orderly. He sleeps precisely, on schedule for the correct number of hours. The system, through him, rests. Barnabas is somewhere between here and the castle, or asleep at home, or asleep in one of the castle's anterooms on a bench. He sleeps well in uncertain places. He has had practice. The village sleeps. The hill is dark. The castle holds its usual vigil. Whatever happens inside its walls when the village can't see, it may be nothing. It may be everything. From below, it looks the same either way. Let the village hold you tonight. You've heard about Kay. You've heard about Kafka. You've heard about the system and the loophole, and the woman who said no, and the messenger who may not be a messenger. That's enough for one night. The snow falls or it doesn't. The castle is there or it's fog. Hard to tell at night. Kay breathes steadily in the schoolroom. You can breathe steadily where you are. The night is wide. There's room. Sleep. Prague is sleeping. The village is sleeping. The castle holds its own council. Kafka in his cemetery is beyond all of it. Beyond the filing and the letters and the systems. At rest finally, in a way Kay never quite managed. You can manage it. let go. By the middle of the 20th century, Kafka was everywhere. Not because readers had agreed to love him, but because the world had caught up to what he described. The systems he wrote about in 1922 had, by 1945, proven themselves capable of things he never depicted. Albert Camus read Kafka. Samuel Beckett read Kafka. They took what he had found, the man inside the system, the waiting, the question without an answer, and built their own versions. Waiting for Godot has Kafka's architecture. The Stranger has his light. Jorge Luis Borges translated Kafka into Spanish in 1938 and wrote an essay arguing that Kafka had invented his own precursors, that Zeno and Kierkegaard and certain Chinese parables were now retroactively Kafka's. The influence ran backwards. He was that original. Kafka became the writer for people who had been told they were wrong about their own experience, who had been processed, filed, denied, and told, the system is working correctly. He gave them a word and a landscape. He gave them K. The word Kafkaesque is used in legal briefs, in government reports, in newspaper editorials when a policy produces a result that is technically correct and practically absurd. It has become a technical term in every language that has adopted it. Not bad for a man who wanted his work burned. The castle specifically resonated with people who had lived through totalitarianism, not because Kafka predicted it, he didn't, but because the texture of it is the same. The system that doesn't explain itself, the punishment without named offense. Amalia's family every day. Hannah Arendt wrote about the banality of evil. How catastrophic systems are administered by ordinary people doing their jobs. Erlanger doing his job. The village chairman filing his reports. The castle producing outcomes nobody inside it chose or intended individually. But the castle is not a political novel. It refuses to be. K is not fighting a regime. He wants his appointment confirmed. His ambitions are small and personal. The novel's power is that it finds the totalitarian texture in ordinary bureaucracy. This is the more uncomfortable argument. Haruki Murakami has said Kafka is his most important influence. He found in Kafka a way to write about the interior world, the feeling of being outside the ordinary, without explaining or resolving it. The dream logic that Murakami calls his own has Kafka's fingerprints. Toni Morrison, Philip Roth, Flannery O'Connor. Writers who had nothing in common with Kafka's Prague nonetheless found in his method something they needed. The outsider inside the system. The body that the institution doesn't have a form for. The question that precedes the trial. The castle has been adapted for theater many times. Rarely successfully, the novel resists dramatization because its power is interior. What K experiences is the gap between what he understands and what is happening. That gap is hard to stage. Orson Welles made the trial into a film in 1962. It captures something. The spaces are extraordinary. The bureaucratic corridors overwhelming. But even Welles couldn't quite get inside K's specific experience. Kafka lives in the prose. The prose is what you're hearing now. What the novel does that no adaptation manages, it puts you inside the waiting. Not watching K wait. Waiting with him. The prose is the experience. Each sentence is K's mind processing the situation in real time. This is why you read it rather than watch it. This is also why the novel works as sleep content. The waiting, the circling, the sentences that move without arriving. This is not failure of narrative. This is the form of a particular kind of consciousness. The mind before sleep moves exactly this way. Half a century after Kafka died, the internet arrived. And then email. And then online forms, automated responses. Systems that acknowledge your query and route it to the appropriate department and confirm receipt and provide a case number and never resolve the case. Kafka had been waiting for this. Your ticket has been escalated to a senior team, is a letter from Clamp. This matter falls under a different department, is the village chairman explaining the filing system. Hold music is the Herrenhof corridor. Kafka didn't predict the future. The future was already happening around him. But the castle is not just about bureaucracy. That reading is too narrow. It is about the experience of trying to belong to something that processes you. The job that reviews your application and requests further documentation. The relationship that wants more than you have. The family that loves you in a language you can't quite speak, Kafka wrote to Broad. We photograph things in order to drive them out of our minds. He was talking about the way we process experience. The recording as a substitute for inhabiting. The castle is the opposite. He inhabited his experience so fully it became a world. 100 years later, the novel feels like it was written this week. Not because nothing has changed. Everything has changed, but the experience it describes is not historical. It is structural. The castle is the shape of a certain kind of experience that has always been happening, and always will be. The unfinished ending has become part of literary culture in its own right. Writers talk about it. Teachers assign it. The question, would K have reached the castle, is a writing prompt in universities on several continents. The broken sentence is a subject of academic careers. Some readers feel the unfinished state as loss, the story interrupted before its resolution. Others feel it as completion, the story that could only end by not ending, the structure and the interruption perfectly matched. Both readings are correct. That's also very Kafkaesque. There is a version of the novel in which K wins, in which the castle sends the right letter, the appointment is confirmed, the land surveying begins. In this version, the novel is a different novel. It is not one that anyone would have read for 100 years. The novel that exists, incomplete, suspended, mid-sentence, is the novel the world has needed. It doesn't offer the resolution. It offers the company. You are not alone in not arriving. K didn't arrive either. The approach has been described with complete accuracy. Tonight you have spent time in Kafka's village, in K's attempt, in Amalia's refusal and Olga's patience, and Virgil's warm room, and the chair where the answer was given and received by sleep. This is what literature gives. Not answers but inhabited experiences. The castle gave you a word for something you already knew. A landscape for an experience you'd had without a map for it. A man who kept going not because he was brave, but because stopping wasn't something he knew how to do. This is also something. And it made you laugh a little. The assistants who stay. The chairman's filing system. Virgil talking to the sleeping man. Kafka laughed at his own work. You're allowed to as well. The dark comedy is intentional. It's part of the company. Rest now. The legacy has been stated. The influence acknowledged. The century of readers who found K in themselves. That's real, and it's enough for tonight. The village is ahead in file 8. The final approach. The closing. The castle is one of those books that sits differently in you at different ages. At 20, K's stubbornness feels like heroism. At 30, it feels like recognition. At 50, people say, it feels like wisdom. You find your own version each time. If you've read it before tonight, you've read it again. If tonight was your first time, you've begun something. Either way, K is in you now a little, and the castle, and the village. and the road that curves back to where you started. That's literature doing its work. You don't have to do anything with it. It's not a lesson. It's not self-help. It's company. The company of a story that takes your experience seriously. The experience of trying and not yet arriving, and still being here. The company is the gift. The unfinished novel is also an act of generosity. Kafka couldn't give you the ending, so he left you space. Space to imagine K waking up tomorrow and trying again. Space for Amalia to eventually go to the window and look at the castle hill without it meaning anything. Space. The morning will come. It always does. The castle will be on its hill. K will be in the schoolroom. And somewhere in Prague, in a cemetery on a quiet street, the man who made all of this rests in the particular piece of someone whose work outlived every doubt he had about it. The village is waiting for the morning too. K in his schoolroom, Olga in the family house, Amalia in her corner of the dark, Frieda behind the bar in the warm inn. The whole village paused between this night and whatever comes next. Let the village hold you the rest of the night. You've earned the rest. The trying today was real. The not arriving was also real. Both are true. The novel says so. Kafka says so. K says so. Mid-sentence. Still going, still here. Tomorrow the letters will come. Tonight they wait. The castle's departments are all sleeping, or whatever it is they do when the village can't see. The system rests, and so do you. Same time, same place, the whole machinery briefly still. Sleep. The snow is soft. The hill is patient. K is mid-sentence in a novel that never finished and has never stopped being read. You are somewhere between the village and wherever you came from, which is the right place to be right now. The approach doesn't have to end tonight. Neither does yours. Put it down for now. The castle holds the case. The village holds K. The night holds you. Everything is held, that's enough. Sleep. The village waits. The morning will find it the same. Snow on the road. Smoke from the chimneys. Barnabas somewhere between here and there with a letter. The same world starting again? As it does. As you will, but not yet. Now is for sleep. The morning can wait. The letter can wait. The castle will be there. K will be there. You'll be there. The approach resumes after rest. The rest is necessary. Take it. One more book. One more night. One more story told in the dark to someone who needed it. The castle has held you tonight. Sleep well. The morning knows where to find you. The last file. The closing movement. The village at the end of everything it has shown you. The castle still on its hill. K, still in the schoolroom. The story suspending itself, as it always does, in the middle of something. K is asleep. The stove is warm enough. The blanket covers him. The schoolroom benches stand in their rows. The tall windows hold the dark. This is what rest looks like for a man who never stops. It looks like anyone else's rest. The village holds its breath. This is what it does at this hour. When the last lamp is out, when the last person has stopped moving, the breath held before morning. You know this hour. You're in it now. The snow doesn't need to fall tonight. It's already there, laid down, undisturbed, holding the shape of yesterday's last footstep. The world is as settled as it gets. You can be settled too. Let the weight go. The castle is on its hill. It has always been on its hill. It was on its hill before K arrived. It will be on its hill when the novel ends. It asks nothing of you tonight. Just rest in its shadow, which is also the village's shadow, which is where everyone lives. Olga is asleep. She will wake before dawn to start the household. She will do this without complaint. She has done it every day since the family's trouble began. She will keep doing it. This is her answer to everything the castle has done. Amalia is in her corner. Even in sleep, she holds her ground. There is no collapse in her, no surrender to the unconscious that is unguarded. She sleeps the way she does everything, present, contained, hers. Frieda sleeps well. She is in the right room, the right inn, the right life for her. Sleep finds her easily here. It always did, in this place. Some people belong somewhere. She belongs here. The sleep shows it. Hans Brunswick is asleep in his family's house. He is 9 years old. He dreamed something. He doesn't know what. In the morning he will think about Kay and whether his father spoke to anyone at the Herrenhof. He will keep trying, the way children do, without being told to. Virgil is asleep in the Herrenhof. His papers are in order. He told Kay everything. What Kay did with it was Kay's business. Virgil did his part. He sleeps well. The round-faced official always sleeps well. The Herrenhof corridor is dark. The candles are out. The doors are closed. The officials sleep behind their identical doors, with their files in order and their reports submitted. The machinery of the castle is at rest. The system breathes. The village road is empty. The snow holds the shapes of today. Tomorrow it will hold the shapes of tomorrow. The road doesn't mind. It has held many footsteps. K's are among them now. That's something. That's not nothing. The castle on its hill. Dark, still, neither welcoming nor forbidding at this hour. Just there. The way large things are just there. The mountain, the sea, the thing that has always been part of the horizon. You stop seeing it and it's still there. This is also fine. The novel is still going. K is still mid-sentence. The pen is still lifted. The page still ends where it ends. This is the permanent state of the castle. It will be mid-sentence tomorrow. It will be mid-sentence when you come back to it. That sentence is patient. You are at the end of this night with the castle. You have been in the village. You have heard Olga's story and Amalia's answer and Virgil's explanation and the landlady's certainty. You have been in the corridor. You have held the letter from Clam. You have been here. Let it settle. All of it. Kay and the castle and the road and the people in the village who made lives in its shadow. Let them settle into whatever place in you they've found. They'll be there when you wake. The night is very quiet now. The kind of quiet that has been building across this whole hour. The village in it. You in it. The snow outside your window, or the rain, or the still dark air. Wherever you are, the quiet is yours too. Kay breathes. The stove breathes. The inn breathes. The family house breathes. Even the castle on its hill seems to breathe in the dark. The walls expanding slightly in the cold, the stone holding the warmth of the day. You can breathe too. Slowly, the way the village breathes at this hour in. Out. The castle is on its hill. Kay is in his schoolroom. You are where you are. Everything in its place. The night holding all of it. The approach doesn't have to continue tonight. Kay is resting from his. You can rest from yours. The thing you've been working toward. It will still be there. The castle doesn't go anywhere. Neither does what you're working toward. Rest. The novel closes here. Not ends, closes. The way a hand closes around something it wants to hold. The village is inside the closing. Kay is inside it. The castle is inside it. And for tonight, so are you. Sleep is close, you can feel it. The way you always can at this point in the night. When the thoughts have slowed and the body has made its case. Let it come. The village will be here. The story will be here. The castle is patient. It has waited for Kay for the whole novel. It can wait a little longer. It will still be there, with its files and its officials and its one possibly lit window. Let it wait. Let yourself sleep. The snow is soft. The night is wide. The stove is warm enough. Kay is asleep. You can be too. The story has been told. The village has been walked. The hill has been seen from every angle. Rest now. Franz Kafka wrote this novel in the hours between midnight and 3 in the morning, in notebooks, in a room in Prague. He is gone now. The notebooks remain. The village remains. The hill remains. What he made in the dark stays in the world. What you carry from tonight stays with you. Thank you for the night, for staying this far, for letting the village be your village for a while. Kay thanks you too, in his way, which is to keep walking, which is his version of acknowledgement. The book will still be here tomorrow. So will the village. So will Kay, mid-sentence making his case. So will the castle on its hill, and so will we sleep well. The night deepens. This is its last depth before the first thin light. The hour when sleep is most complete. You may already be there. If you are, that's right. That's the whole point. The castle holds its position. The village holds its breath. The snow holds its shape. You don't have to hold anything right now. Let the night hold you instead. That's what nights are for. Sleep. The village is sleeping. Kay is sleeping. Amalia, Olga, Frieda, Björgil, Hans, Brunswick, all sleeping. The castle on its hill, the whole world of the novel at rest. You can be part of this rest. You already are. Good night. Kay, you tried today, you'll try again. The road will still curve. The castle will still wait. The letters will still arrive. You'll still be here. That's the whole of it. Good night. Good night, Amalia. You knew what you were doing. You did it anyway. You've been living in the result with more grace than anyone who never had to. Good night. Good night, village. You were the right place for this story. Specific enough to feel real. Strange enough to hold the truth. A hill with a castle on it. A road that loops back. A people who learn to live in the gap. Good night. Good night, castle. You were never going to open. That was always the point. You were never the destination. The road was the destination. The trying was the destination. You were just the hill. Good night. Sleep. The castle holds, the village holds. Kay holds mid-sentence, patient as the hill. Kafka holds in his notebooks, in his cemetery, in every language that has taken his word and used it. You are held. Good night.